and welcome CYC TV viewers to Living Social. My name is Father Antonius. Lovely to see you again. And the Lord was with Joseph, and Joseph was a successful man. This is a verse that we often hear quoted as an encouragement, particularly to young people, that if you live a good life with the Lord, then you will be blessed, you will succeed in your studies, you will get a wonderful career, you'll probably be a doctor, or possibly a pharmacist or a dentist or an engineer, and you will have a lovely house to live in, you'll have a beautiful husband or wife, and lots of healthy kids who will never get sick. Is that really how it works? What does success really mean? And is it really a sign that God is pleased with you? In other words, if I do my part, can I have a contract with God so that He has to do His part and He has to bless me with all of these things of worldly success in the world? Unfortunately, in my view, this is something that is taken way too far these days by Christians of many, many different kinds, including within our own Coptic Church. If you think about it, was Jesus successful in this world? Was he a doctor? Was he an engineer or a dentist or a pharmacist? He was none of those things. He had a very simple, a very lowly career. He was a tradesman. He was a carpenter. Was he rich? Absolutely not. He said, "Foxes have holes, birds have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." And he told his disciples to do the same. He told them to live very, very simply. Was St. Paul rich and wealthy? St. Peter? And in fact, if we go through and look at the people that we hold up as the ideals of the Christian life, we find that worldly success was not an important thing in their lives. Doesn't it seem strange then that we, who take them as our examples and our role models, feel that nonetheless my life with God means that He will bless me and give me worldly success? This is a very dangerous way to think. It's what has commonly been called nowadays the prosperity gospel, or some people like to call it the health and wealth gospel, because if you do the right thing by God, then God will keep you healthy, you won't get sick, you and your family, and He'll make you wealthy, and so on. I have seen, and these are not very hard to find, preachers giving talks where they say things like this: I know that you should listen to me because God has blessed me, and this is how you should know that God blessed me, because I own 3 mansions. I have 3 mansions, one here and a summer mansion somewhere else and another one in Europe. And that shows you that God has blessed me, and He can bless you in the same way. And sometimes they will even go on from this to say, and if you give a donation to my church, then He will bless you even more. This is very worrying. I once saw a very extreme case of this, a man who spent half an hour preaching to people to inspire people about the power and the love of God, because one day he decided he needed a private jet, his own private jet, and it was going to cost more than $100 million, but he had faith, and he believed that God would give him the private jet, and sure enough, God sent the money and he got his private jet. This is not Christ walking in the fields of Nazareth and around Jerusalem with only the one cloak, with torn sandals, and not even knowing where he's going to spend the night. The gospel of Christ does not teach us ways to succeed in the rat race of the economy of the world. Because if you think about it, that is what success in this world means. We have this thing called an economy, and we have competition in the economy, and it's survival of the fittest. If you have a better product, if you have a new idea, if you have good business skills, you will go further than other people, and then they have to try and catch up with you to try and do as well as you can. And it's a competition. It's a big competition. But the gospel of Christ is not a manual of how to succeed in this worldly competition. It's not even a secret weapon, as some people seem to think it is. Sure, they have their business skills, and sure, they have their money in the bank, but I have the power of God. As if the power of God was intended to help me win the competition, to be a shortcut for me to win this competition. The gospel of Christ did something far, far greater than give us a shortcut to winning the competition. It taught us how to not even care about the competition. It taught us how to go beyond it and to transcend it. It showed us that this economic competition that's going on in the world is not important. It's temporary, it's passing, and in fact it's even meaningless. Because even if you win that competition, what have you really gained? You remember the words of Christ, "What shall it profit a man if he gain the whole world, but if he loses his own soul?" What Christ came to teach us is how to save our souls, not to be rich in the world, in the material things of the world. And so how is it that we do that? We save our souls. We find out what a real human life is meant to be like, what God created our lives to be like, when we follow the gospel of love. And the gospel of love is not a gospel of profit. It's not a gospel of maximizing my benefits. It's a gospel of giving. It's a gospel of forgetting myself, losing my ego, in becoming a being, a creature who is filled with love and wants to give to others. Now, sometimes when I do that, it will happen that I will also get worldly benefits. It will sometimes happen. For example, I might really care about helping sick people. I'm really motivated. Suffering touches me. It hurts me to see other people hurt. And so I may put in a lot of time and effort to study and to become a doctor so that I can go out and help to ease people's suffering. That is a beautiful and noble thing to do. And as a side effect, as a fringe benefit of that, doctors make a lot of money. But here is the real question. Does my making a lot of money, is that the sign that God has blessed me? No, I don't think so. Because there are doctors who don't make very much money. There are doctors who don't charge very much. There are doctors who take a lot of patients for free. I remember meeting a doctor at one stage who worked in the villages in Egypt, who more often than not would give people money rather than take money from them after he had treated them, because they were very, very poor. He didn't make a lot of money, and yet he was blessed. The sign of the blessing of God is not that you are making money or that you're getting a perfect supermodel wife or a bodybuilder husband or whatever it might be, living in a mansion. That's not the sign that God has blessed you, because you can have all of those things and still be miserable in your life, and many people are. The sign that God has blessed you is that your heart has changed. It is no longer a selfish heart. It is no longer an inwardly focused heart that's living in a cage of its own needs and desires and egos. The sign that God has blessed you is that you are looking outwards and serving others and making a difference in their life. And even if you're doing your best and not making a big difference, God has still blessed you because you have become Christ-like. Remember, we started by saying that Jesus was poor, and yet he went out and he healed the sick, and he gave to others. And St. Paul said the same thing. He said of himself and those who serve with him that we are as if we are poor, and yet we make many others rich. The important thing is, what kind of person are you? What does your heart look like? If I were to look in your heart, would I see the face of Christ looking back at me? And if you can answer yes to that question, then we can say, truly, you are blessed by God. Look forward to seeing you next time, and God bless.